do that and spend a lot of money changing it every year. We decided to pull it out of the town code. Actually, there was only one other town, I believe, that still had it in their town code. Everybody else has pulled it out. And then we review it every year as a regular policy, like a lot of the other things that we're doing. So first, can I have a motion to call the public hearing to order?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing to amend the town code by removing the procurement policy. Bill McCabe?
Thanks very much. From having attended the workshop meeting, I understand the rationale for removing it from the town code, and it makes sense as long as it conforms to what the state controller approves of and what the attorney says. But there's one question I have, and it has to do with an apparent, to me, maybe not, contradiction between Section G and Section H. Section G, I think, has amended some language, and Section H is the same language that was in the 1999 version of it. Let me read. G says, whenever a contract is awarded to other than the lowest responsible offer, the purchaser shall support such decisions, documentation, etc. H says, in some circumstances, it is not in the best interests of the town of Unionville to solicit quotations or to document the basis for not accepting the lowest bid. In these circumstances, the individual or company must be chosen based on accountability, reliability, responsibility, skill, education, and training, judgment, integrity, moral worth, and the ability to have a close relationship with the governing body. These qualifications are not necessarily found in the individual or company that offers the lowest price. The nature of these services are such, I think there's a syntactical problem there, such they do not readily lend themselves to competitive procurement procedures. The procurement of professional services or of services requiring special or technical skill, training, or expertise fall within the purview of this section. Citizens and municipalities deserve the benefit of expertise of these types of services as an effective performance in these areas, although hard to quantify, ultimately saves the taxpayers money.
Right.
It's rather convoluted. I recommend that you try to simplify, revise that.
Right.
And also, all throughout, many of your changes have to do with accountability and responsibility by requiring documentation when you don't have the bidding.
I agree.
Whereas this one directly opposes that, so it seems really...
No, you're absolutely right.
To be
and
a
just so you know,
contradiction.
Two things. One, Mr. Battistoni had emailed this week with a couple of things. Some of these are, like, we did not touch that paragraph. That's just the old language. So, and then our attorney, Mr. Battistoni, found a few things also that from the version that we didn't change, or from the original text, because we were changing and updating the numbers, more in the numbers.
Right.
So our approach is this, because Karina Kelly, Councilwoman Kelly, emailed me yesterday with the same paragraph. I don't know if you and she had a conversation, but she emailed all the town board and said that there was something that needed to be done. And with her recommended change, and she made a recommendation in her email, and the three suggestions from our town attorney, our approach is, which we can easily do if it becomes a policy, is in our meeting next month, we're going to do it there. And then if we see other things, we can just update, and we're going to have the discussion about this. We'll have some text recommendations, and we'll have the changes from Mr. Battistoni, and then in our next month's meeting, we're putting it on the agenda and just voting on it there. So that's the nice thing about a policy. So you'll be able to hear. It'll come out early.
Right.
You'll be able to read it.
That's one thing. I understand the idea behind H, that in some circumstances it doesn't make sense, but with all the verbiage here, it seems to give so many options to just avoid accountability, first of all, which I hope will be cleared up, but also, just to not, to opens up to, cronyism or favoritism or insider kind of stuff. Not that that's the case, but it could happen with language like this, and someone could justify something you don't want to happen.
Well, and after getting audited, after getting audited, our one of the things, and we created that procurement explanation form, and they had recommended that we have a note to file Anytime
Yes.
any time a decision is made, especially, so it's funny you mentioned that procurement explanation form or the note to file will go in with all of these, so it kind of helps avoid that because you have to
Yeah,
commit to writing.
right.
So you'll see that next month?
That was
We'll have
really, good advice and good idea, and then all of a sudden it seemed to be voided by Section H.
Yeah, no, you're right. We'll take care of it next month, and you can see what the new language looks like and comment again then, okay?
Good.
All right, thank you, Bill, or Mr. McKay. All right, I believe we have somebody else. Tom Beiswinger?
Yeah, I basically was,
Agreeing?
in agreement with Bill on that, on
Okay.
that paragraph, that, it's kind of counterproductive to a,
Yeah,
to a competitive market. You want it to be a competitive market. You want to give people that chance to say that you're not going to document why,
right.
you're not taking the lowest bid, kind of,
Or if you don't, now, our new policy is you have to document why, and we have a form for it.
Okay.
So you're right, we just
Yeah.
didn't, we didn't change that paragraph because that was right out of the code.
Yeah, I
You
understand
could
that.
tell.
That was already in the code, so,
Yeah.
that's definitely, I'm glad that you're looking at it, and,
Great.
And-
Well, you'll see new language next month because
Okay. Very good.
Councilwoman Kelly had sent it to us and it's
Yeah.
on the list.
yeah.
Okay,
very
thank you.
good.
Thanks
Thank
for the
you.
comment. Are there any other comments or questions about the procurement policy? Okay, I'm going to close this. Oh, we don't have to do that anymore, just I explained in the office, I forgot to tell you. I get to declare the public hearing closed. May I have a motion to open our second public hearing about the MS4 Stormwater Management Annual Report?
Make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, at this point, this second public hearing, we're going to permit comments after, given the topic, we thought it made sense to have our stormwater management, our MS4 coordinator, who is George Kolb, come and introduce the draft report that we're supposed to vote on here tonight as kind of a perfunctory thing that the DEC requires. But I don't know how anybody can understand what we're voting on unless we hear a little bit of an explanation. Mr. Kolb?
You want me here?
Sit and make yourself at home. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is George Kolb. I'm the building official here in the town of Unionvale. I've also been appointed the Stormwater Management Officer for the town of Unionvale. As many of you possibly may know, we were designated an MS4 community about 3 to 4 years ago. This was part of the Clean Water Act of 1972 and basically came down from the EPA to the DEC in New York City, or in New York, and we're charged with taking care of this annual report that's due every year. As part of this designation, the annual reporting to the DEC is required every year. This report includes various construction projects that have been inspected for project site erosion work, storm water quality, and various storm-related issues that may occur at any work site. In addition, the town of Unionvale is required to oversee their stormwater practices with any site work the highway department may undertake, as well as any continual maintenance of catch basins along various streets, culverts, and all outlets into water bodies. This also holds true for the recreation ground crew for work associated within the various parks in the town. Several drainage districts in the town have also been accepted and are to be overseen by my office for compliance to their operation and maintenance. These properties are currently paying for this work through a separate tax for their respective district, so no additional tax burden has been placed on the remaining residents. We have and will continue to have training on these practices for all town of Unionvale personnel involved with these types of work-related practices, as well as providing information to the public to protect both ground and stormwater-based management practices. We are currently a member of the Dutchess County MS4 Committee that meets monthly to discuss these topics and any additional requirements that the DEC may institute for compliance. All of this reporting and documentation on these items are required to be submitted to the DEC. This is done on an annual basis, and working with our town engineer and myself are to compile this information for the annual report. We are additionally required to ask for public comment through this public hearing tonight. Lastly, we have secured a grant from Dutchess County Stormwater for some of the costs over the past 3 years associated with the implementation of this program and hope to see this reimbursement in the near future from New York. I have tried to condense this information for you tonight and will try to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you. Any questions? Bottom line is, this is an annual report that's required. We're mandated to do it from the DEC. It basically lists the practices that we have instituted over the past year, along with what we have done over the past 3 to 4 years. It basically all centers around water quality with construction projects, and again, best management practices for the town of Unionville, all the sites that we are undertaking in the town, and as well as contractors that have to do it. So it's basically in a nutshell.
The MS4, the draft document is on the website. As you guys probably know by now, we put everything on the website. As soon as we can, all of our public notices, any policies and procedures, we have a whole section for that now. The draft is on there, and if we vote on it tonight and it passes, then it will, the permanent copy will go on there.
Yeah, basically, the annual report is just a number. We plug in numbers that we use over the course of the year, and it designates with what we have accomplished, whether it's public notice, whether it's compliance issues, stop work orders. It runs the gamut. So all of this information is compiled for every town that's involved with it. It's submitted to the DEC, and it's kept in records in my office with the town clerk and in the files. At any time, the town can get audited by New York State. They will come in and audit to see what we have done, what we are currently doing, and making sure we're doing it right. So the bottom line is that it's all about documentation, and it is an unfunded mandate, so I might want to stress that to the town residents. Is there any questions?
Anybody have any
I'm glad you
questions?
mentioned it's an unfunded mandate, because it's cost us a lot of money
Yes, it
over the
has.
last 4 years to comply with the state requirement.
Here's an editorial comment. It's a very frustrating thing because we should take care of these things just because we're good citizens, but we were pulled into the MS4, and there isn't any other town I could find in all of Dutchess County, most of them going north, none of them are involved with this, just Unionville. And it's only because we have a little sliver, the density issue on our border with Beekman. And even our engineer, when he did the update this year, he looked at it, he goes, I can't believe they have you in MS4. And it costs us money every year to be participating in this and, forced to do certain things. But anyway, so that's the unfunded mandate part.
We did try to fight it. Believe me, Lisette and I tried to fight this one several times to try to get out of this, but to no avail. So whether we continue to try to do that, that's up to the board.
Is this controlled by DEC, or is there a state division?
The
No.
DEC. The
DEC
has oversight of all this. The auditing is done by the DEC. The annual report goes to the DEC. It's all done through the DEC.
Any other questions? Yes.
Does this also involve stream protection, runoff from?
Essentially, yes. That's what it's water quality.
Yeah, I did skim the extensive report online.
Yeah.
There was reference to Fishkill Creek. The other creeks also?
Yeah, it all depends on where our outfalls are located in the town, which we do have a mapping. That's part of this program as well. That will be started to be implemented this year. But it does involve any kind of water body. It's not just the ones that may be listed in that particular report. It involves any kind of water body, any kind of outfall, culverts, everything. So it's all inclusive.
So that mapping starts this year?
Well, the mapping's been done. That's been done by the county. They paid for that. Our objective this year is to go through and start visually inspecting these outfalls, as well as the catch basins and so forth. I mean, there's many things that we have to inspect. We don't have to do it all in 1 year. There's a percentage that the DEC requires us to do every year. Again, it has to be documented, noted. The inspection has to be done. What we saw, what we found, what repairs need to be done, what needs to be cleaned out, those types of things. And they give you a percentage on what we have to look at every year. And in the next months, I will be working closely with Richie Wisman on doing these inspections and making sure they're done, as well as the recreation department too. So.
Okay.
On your maps, does it show that Unionville has the headwaters for 4 important streams in Dutchess County?
Well, whatever the county has, that's what they give to us. They're the ones that did the mapping for us. So they mapped out what we are obligated to inspect and ensure that they're in proper condition. It's all done, that part of it's done through the county.
Okay. If there are any other questions? No? Okay. Mr. Kolb, thank you for coming.
Can I make a motion to close the public hearing?
We don't have to make a motion anymore.
Okay.
We just get to say, the public hearing is
All right.
closed.
I forgot you had a hammer.
Yeah, they said you must use the gavel to close the
All right.
hearing. There you go. The hearing is closed. Thank you very much. At this point, I'd like to call our regular meeting to order. If you could join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Our first order of business, we'd like to, can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the April 19th?
So moved.
Second.
Second? Okay, all in favor? Aye. It's unanimous vote.
You're all set, Andrea.
You're all set, meeting passed. I'd also now like to make a motion that we approve the draft MS4 document for the 2018 report. Have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, unanimous. MS4 document passes for 2018. All right, now I'm going to just change one thing up on the agenda. Before we get to our very special guest tonight, which I want everybody to enjoy, we certainly will, I'm going to reorder a little bit because our highway superintendent has an important date at the salt shed. So he's going to come up and give his report first and then go back to take care of a few things after the meeting, or after he's finished. So let me turn it over. Richie, have a seat and give us your report. I'll let you go.
Me in the eye with that, Dave. Okay. We repaired the front brakes on truck 1. We replaced the PTO and pump and a clutch in truck 10. Installed new rear springs, axle, and brake joints on truck 10. Installed new batteries and battery cables on truck 9. Replaced the rear springs and an air valve on truck number 4. Cleaned the residential yards due to snow plow damage from the winter plowing. This includes raking and seeding residential lawns that were damaged by the plows and the wings. Fixed and replaced multiple town signs, damaged from high winds and storms. Cleaned the ditches on Highview Road to prevent flooding and maintain proper water runoff. Removed the grates and the sanders from all the trucks from the winter plowing. Washed the trucks to prevent rusting. Winter storm cleanup throughout the town. We had those big storms, those winter trees came down, including tree removal and chipping. Helped pick up the orange bags from Earth Day. Clean the back shop. Clean and organize work areas. Remove the dirt and grease from the shop floor. Graded and rolled the town dirt roads. We just finished that today, actually.
You did?
Dodging in and out of the rain. We didn't have to add much dirt because we added, quite a bit over the years, and it worked out nice. So we don't have to. Usually we spend like 15 to 20 grand every year on the dirt roads, and we did not this year.
That's great.
Sorry, Scott, but.
We have some idea for using that money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we have.
We do. Let's see, where was I? Did the storm cleanup after this past storm. We didn't have much damage at all compared to what happened in Newburgh and Beacon down the Fishkill area.
Fishkill, yeah.
But freakish thing last night, we had one big tree take out 3 other trees all at once on Highview Road.
Did it
So
really?
we got that cleaned up around 10:30 or so. We were done 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Great.
And the guys went up there and got that. We swept the roads that we could sweep for now, like according to MS4. We have a sweeper in the front of the John Deere loader we have. And we go around, we do all the back roads with the sand where people like to bike ride. And then we're on for Monday. I got Easy Street coming in to do the rest of the sweeping.
The sweeping
and
of all the rest of
developments.
the roads? And you do all the roads with the sweeping?
Well, like I said, I told you the other day, all of them were done, but only half of it's done. Because we don't go through the developments and sweep all this traction sand into people's lawns or into the catch basins. We go through with Easy Street and they pick it up. And we have one of the guys follows them around with a dump truck. His truck raises up high enough and then dumps into ours and we bring it back to the shop.
Perfect. Okay, good.
So, and then,
Will they do the rest of it on Monday, or are they just starting?
No,
up
they're
again?
just going to start on Monday.
Great,
So
okay.
we got them for 4 days. So we'll have them all week next week, and that's usually what it takes to do that.
Nice.
And then we're going to start patching potholes and fixing curbs. We're just trying to play catch up on everything else. And then
Okay.
what else? And then we are going to start doing catch basin cleaning in June. We're going to go around. Easy Street also is on a contract for the county that we piggyback off of. And we go around, they have a machine that lifts up the basin lid, and then they have a big pipe and they suck out all the debris and all
Great.
the stuff. All part of the MS4. And we've been trying to keep up on it. It's tough to do it every year with 4 guys.
I know, yeah.
So,
but that's good that they're doing that. And now let me ask you another question. The culverts, the one on Cutler, do we want to have a meeting to discuss that?
I want to talk to the engineer. I'd
Okay.
like to meet with the engineer and show him that the donation that we had gotten from Poughkeepsie, from the town of Poughkeepsie Highway Department, that pipe
Oh,
we
yes.
can use down there, it's plenty wide enough, it'll handle the water flow.
Great.
And to see if, I want to ask his opinion on a couple things, but it might need some new hardware. I don't know. Not going to cost more than probably $1,000, $2,000, which is nothing for a pipe that, probably 50 grand for that pipe. So, it's free.
That's great, because, the state comes out with those grants for bridges and for
Yeah.
culverts and stuff. So we sent it to our engineer, and we asked him if we should apply for a grant, and he said, given the steps and the hoops that they make you jump through, we would have spent about $15,000 or $20,000 just getting to submit for the grant, and only to have them probably turn us down. And then Richie has got this great piece of equipment, or a piece of material that you're hanging on to, and we're going to use that instead, and we will have saved all that money. So that's a great thing. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'll meet with them on that.
Okay.
And see if we can, we have until October 1st, or the end of September, to get that done.
So you're going to you're going to start your other projects first?
We're
and
gonna,
then
yeah,
you'll
we're
get
gonna
to
start
that.
that
Okay.
and finish some of the other things. Now, I know we're not gonna vote on it tonight. I did put the 284 together for you guys. Between the amount of money and the chips that is given to us by the state, that when I fill out the paperwork, I get reimbursed for, and what we have in my actual budget from the town, I've got about $444,000. So, I know, like I said, we don't vote on this tonight, but if there's any questions later on, the next meeting or something, feel free to ask them, but
We'll be ready.
there's not a lot to say about, like Quinlan and Still. Like Quinlan Road, most of the pipes have been replaced already. So there's only a couple of old metal pipes that we need to pull out and replace, and just pave it. They run down first, they T&L it, true and level it, and then they pave it over that, so everything's nice.
It looked nice.
It's
So
the
this
same
one
thing
says
with-
Quinlan Road to the dead end, on the road commencing at Still Road and leading to Manila. And then over here you have
Yeah, I put two.
Jordan Court and Deer Pond.
Yeah.
Those are all areas that you
Yeah,
want to work on.
And I came in a little high, and I have my guys, my blacktoppers from Peckham,
Okay.
who I use are on the county bid, and they are one of our bidders. For the oil and stone and the blacktop.
Okay. So you've already done all that.
Yeah.
All right, well,
These guys own the blacktop plant, and they do the paving, so it's hard to beat the price.
okay. Well, you've done a really good job of managing your budget so far this year, Richie. I'll tell everybody
Yeah.
about the budgets in a minute, but do we want, what do
We've had a couple of-
what do we do with this? Should we vote on this now?
On his
Not
report? I
this.
don't think
No,
we
no,
have
no,
to-
sorry.
On 284?
On the 284.
I thought we voted on it already.
We voted on it.
Oh,
as in,
we did.
You gotta vote on
He
one.
just refined it a little.
Yes.
We asked him to bring back
Yeah,
the numbers.
like I've
so
done in
this-
past years,
Right.
refine it.
Yeah.
And bring it back, like I said I would
Okay,
do.
so he's in good shape, and these
Yeah.
numbers look good, and you've checked them out. You've done a
Yeah.
good job with all your other pricing this
Yeah.
year, so we appreciate you.
It's not rocket science. I'm going to do what I can do and try to save as much money.
Great.
If it comes down to it to where maybe we can't do Jordan Court this year, we're going to have to skip it, and take on that culvert pipe down in Cutler.
And if we really tighten up our budgets a little bit, we might have, or with something good comes through, then we might have a little bit extra that we can use to do some other really problematic
Yeah.
areas.
I mean, it's good that you guys jumped on this blacktopper that's doing our parking lot, because blacktop has gone up.
Yeah.
I think he says like $100 a gallon
Oh,
or
yeah,
something.
with crude oil shooting up
Yeah,
to 70
like
a barrel.
100%, yeah.
We should tell everybody that we're closing off the entrance to the parking lot. The town hall is not going to be open this Saturday, I hate to say, but we're having the parking lot will be paved tomorrow, and then they're striping it on Saturday morning. And the bid was closed, he committed last fall, as you said, and he didn't try to renege, even though the prices had gone way up.
Yeah,
He's honoring
that's
his
great.
bid from last fall, and they're coming to do it.
Yep.
So that's good for us.
So.
All right, so you're in good shape.
I'd like to use them, but their prices are usually a little too high, unfortunately.
Not this time.
No.
Yeah, it worked
with you
out.
guys. So.
Well, they're also trying to earn, the man on the phone, the paving superintendent, is trying to earn our business around other places through
No,
you.
they're great people.
So-
They really are. I've dealt with them before.
They're watching their prices, and they'd like you to
They also
consider them.
they own Easy Street.
Yeah, I heard they bought them.
Yeah, they have
Steve
that.
Frazier.
So we're doing business with them in
Yeah.
all areas.
Yeah, Councilman Frazier had reiterated that he really thinks they do a super job. This is the company that's going to do the striping, and he uses them in Wappingers a lot. And so everybody you're picking, they've got a good
Yeah.
reputation of doing a good job, so thank you.
All right. You guys,
Anything
it's up
else?
to you guys if you want to vote on the 284. Yeah.
Well, I think
I
Councilman
don't think
Welsh,
we
we don't
need to.
have to because we already did in January,
Yeah.
and you owed us numbers, and that's what you just brought us.
I don't know. I think that
Oh, do you want to
I
vote?
think
Are we
we
supposed
just
to?
have to.
general
you
repairs.
just did one for general repairs, and then, the one from all town roads to all town roads, but you still
Right.
have to specify which road. And that's
Okay.
why,
Then
that's
we'll
why,
John,
Vote
would
on
you,
this?
would you like to make a motion with
All
somebody?
right, I'll make a motion that we accept Richie's 284 proposal for Quinlan Road and Still Road for paving as he's outlined.
Leading to Manila.
Still road leading to the end of Manila.
Yeah.
And then the others shouldn't you include everything you put in here if he
Well, as
decides
he's
to?
outlined.
Well, that's on the next page.
There's next page. There's
And the
George-
next
there's Georgia
page.
Court and Deer Pond. Deer Pond is a must. That's
Yeah,
the-
Deer Pond as well, and Jordan Court.
So can you rephrase that motion so we
Okay.
can follow that?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept Richie's 284 proposal for, as he's outlined, for Quinlan Road, Still Road, Jordan Court, and Deer Pond Roads.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion
gentlemen.
carries. All right, Mr. Wisman,
ma'am.
thank you very much. Good
Okay.
report. Keep up the good job. Tell your guys thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Have a good night. Okay. At this point on our agenda, we are fortunate to have a special guest, Europa McGovern, who is the Planner and Clean Energy Communities Coordinator, and she's going to introduce us to some new ideas and give us some things to think about. So I'm going to turn it right over to you, Europa. Thank you for being here.
Perfect. Thank you, Supervisor. Great to be back to Unionvale. I haven't been here in probably a year since I met with Councilman McMorris about the Clean Energy Communities Program. So first of all, the program launched about a year and a half ago. It's a NYSERDA-funded program. And the way it works is that there's local coordinators all around the state. That's me in this case. And I live in Poughkeepsie, but my office is in Newburgh. So I apologize in advance for not having copies of the documents I handed out to the town board. But I had to go to the library in Poughkeepsie today to print out everything since our office is closed due to the state of emergency in Newburgh. So,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I already apologized to the board. So basically, the way the program works is that it focuses on local governments and working with them to achieve energy efficiency actions in government operations and also switch to renewable energy. And there's a lot of resources and funding opportunities along the way. And coordinators like me are available to help local governments. So when I connected with Councilman McMorris, like what was it, a little over a year ago, maybe even a year and a half ago.
We've talked a lot.
Yes, yes. So I came in and I had an initial meeting with Councilman and a couple of town staff, and we talked about some options for the town. And then this is sort of an update a year and a half later. So basically, there's 10 high-impact actions. NYSERDA has defined 10 high-impact actions that I'm available to help local governments work on. And so I have these listed on this document here. And so for communities that choose to pursue and complete a minimum of 4 of those actions, they become designated clean energy communities by New York State. That gives them access to grant funding. So the way it stands now, the town has completed 3 actions. And so we're looking for a 4th action so that we can help the town get a $5,000 grant, which is unrestricted funds. They're very popular grants because it's basically a check to your general municipal fund to do with what you will. Of course, NYSERDA would like you to do further renewable or energy efficiency projects,
Yeah.
but really you can do whatever you like with it. So I'll just briefly touch on the actions the town already completed. So I worked with Councilman McMorris on benchmarking, which is basically adopting a resolution that stipulates that the town will be tracking and monitoring the energy use of large municipal buildings. I think in the town, how many buildings is that?
Well, I know I'm
3.
going through about 11 of them.
11, all right.
Oh, you're counting everything.
I'm counting
He's
everything.
counting all
Counting
the
the
buildings.
outhouse.
But the requirement is only for buildings 1,000 square feet, 10,000 square feet or more. but it's good to include all of them. And so the town has already adopted that resolution that they'll publish that data on the website annually. So look for that next year, once the documentation is done using, it's a free online tool, basically. You take all your energy bills, you could do it once a year if you like, you put them all in this EPA Energy Star Portfolio Manager tool, and it can give you a bunch of reporting. Basically, it can also help you if you do energy efficiency upgrades to see how much energy and, of course, utility and energy bills you're saving as well. So the town is already doing that. The town is adopted the Unified Solar Permit, which streamlines the solar permitting process for small-scale solar. And I worked with Andrea here, also about a year ago. I spent a day here with town staff, and she applied for a NYSERDA grant, and the town has received $2,500 for adopting the Unified Solar Permit. Also, general funds. So the town has already been succeeding at this program and getting some money in. And then the third action the town has done is the Energy Code Enforcement Training. That's basically a NYSERDA-funded all-day training. Your code enforcement officer, along with Councilman McMorris, and the third...
Jake Gosnell.
Oh, yes.
Our
Jake.
park manager.
Yes, you went as well. So 3 town representatives went to the free training. I would love to hear feedback on how it went, but it also counts as the third action for the town. So basically, I'm here to try to figure out and brainstorm what a fourth action could be. I know you have a really big agenda, so I think I'll just make it really brief, but I have a couple boxes checked off here, and I'll just touch on the 4 possible actions for the town. One is clean energy upgrades. It's basically using those benchmarking reports to see if you've done enough energy efficiency upgrades projects to achieve a 10% reduction in your energy usage across the board for local government operations. So say if you've done LED lighting retrofits or things like that, we may be able to find that.
We're already looking into that.
Exactly.
We've already done the retrofits, now we want to see how much it's
Trying to get the
saving us.
savings,
Exactly,
yeah.
so that's something that I can obviously, that we can connect on. So the town may already have done this, we just need to generate the reports. So that's one action that's exciting to think you may be closer to getting that designation and that $5,000
Yeah,
grant. That would be nice.
Yeah.
The other option is clean fleets, which would entail either deploying an alternative fuel vehicle or an alternative fuel vehicle fueling station. We're talking about electric vehicles. Basically, I brought the information and I will email it to the town board, but right now there is a DEC grant that pays for 80% of the cost of a publicly accessible charging station. The other 20% can be in-kind contributions, so it can be town staff that does the installation, the trenching, provides the materials, and the grant also pays for if you write it into it, can pay for the first 2 years of material, vendor subscription fees, so that's a network charging station, and electricity usage as well. And I drove my Nissan Leaf here tonight, so I would love if you got a charging station, I would come and visit even more frequently.
Charge up.
Yes, I've worked with dozens of municipalities in the last, year and a half since the program launched that have gotten to charging stations. I know the town of Pine Plains is planning on applying for this grant.
And the public has access, right?
That's one of the stipulations, is
Right.
that it's publicly accessible.
And how do you charge them for it? A certain flat fee or?
So there's all different ways. Well, first of all, because you can get the first 2 years free with the grant.
Yes.
But after that, basically, generally what most municipalities do is you pay a vendor subscription fee. It's about $30 a month per port. Most charging stations are 2 ports.
Okay.
So we're talking $500 to $600 a year subscription fee.
Okay.
So it appears online and on the maps, and EV drivers can find
Yes.
it. And then they basically, you can charge a flat fee, $1 an hour. You can charge just the cost of the electricity.
Okay.
You can charge additional. So
right.
you can actually end up making money if you get enough usage, or at least breaking even for those vendor fees.
Great. Very nice.
So like I said, the grant application deadline is the end of the month, as I've told the supervisor.
May?
Right,
Wow.
for the electric, for the charger, and
Yes.
we don't have an electric vehicle yet, but we've got the thought was that there, for our constable car, and, you know, that's going to be coming off of, we're going to own that, so that's in good shape, that's not yet, but at some point, that's the ideal vehicle that just, you know, travels within town limits.
We buy something like the park uses gators to go around the park.
I don't think are those electric yet?
They
No.
have,
I didn't see
no,
them
not
on- yeah.
Gators, but they
But
do.
they have similar
Do they?
electric vehicles to replace them, right?
They do. As far as Gators, I'm thinking of those gems, those little kind
Yeah.
of cars. I'm not sure.
Well, I
as
just
more-
mean that type of activity
Yeah.
within the town property, is that
Golf
something?
courses use them.
Would that be a viable?
I don't think for the grant. I'm trying to remember all the details of the grant right now. I don't think it would. I
You
think it
probably
has
want
to
an
be
over-the-road
a
vehicle?
exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
And on the
but
road-
there
I
may
mean-
be other funding, so we
Okay.
can look into that.
All right.
But if we
Yeah.
put in the port,
If you put in a
charging-
charging station, then that counts
And
for
the public
actual
can
year.
use it.
Yeah,
Right.
We just
Yeah.
have to figure out how to cover our costs and
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
exactly. Yeah.
And these electric cars are coming out, and there's every not every, but
I know
so
there
many
are at least
manufacturers are making them now.
residents.
The new wave, yeah.
Yeah.
well,
I
the
know there's
grant
at
is
least one resident.
The grant is actually
Sounds
also a $5,000 rebate for electric vehicles, and my understanding is that the DEC is reopening the stream of funding, but it may be 6 months or so. You know, there's no guarantees until it's reopened, but basically, it's also a $5,000 rebate if you purchase a municipal electric vehicle. So down the
Well, and
line,
the
if you
public,
want to get one.
if you go online and look for the public, if they're going to buy an electric vehicle right now, they get a $7,500 rebate.
I know, I wish I was buying a new one right now, because I would get that.
That's a
And
good-
you get a
yeah.
$2,000 NYSERDA grant as well, off the price. So it's a really good time to
That's
buy,
great.
you know, and the prices keep dropping. And I can't say enough, I have a 2012 Leaf, and I've had to get tires since
No
I've
new
had the
batteries
car in
yet?
a year. No new batteries, ceramic brakes, so
Wow.
literally the maintenance has been tires for a 6-year-old car. That's, you
You
know.
must cash in when you file for mileage.
Yeah, 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 exactly. Because I charge at home, that's
Yeah.
true, actually. 54 cents a mile on
Very good.
reimburse. So that is, I can provide some assistance, I can provide some examples of other communities, like the Village of Rhinebeck recently submitted that grant application, the town of Rosendale across the river, and they're happy to share all the materials, because it really
Right.
helps, because it's a not insignificant grant application, but I do think it's worth it at
And
the
it's
end.
due at the end of this month?
It's due at the end of this month.
Memorial
so-
Day
Yeah, so I
type
would
of
also,
thing?
like I said, I know that Supervisor Cloud in the town of Pine Plains is working on that as well.
Oh, I know her. I'll
So,
talk to her.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So it always helps to, you
Okay.
know,
Well, we'll
consult
put that
with
on the
one
list
another.
and...
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so there's two possible actions for the town to complete and get access to that other $5,000 grant. And then the other two actions are the Climate Smart Communities Certification Program. That's a DEC program. Well, it's actually a collaboration of 6 state agencies, but the DEC manages it. I see on the agenda tonight is the Climate Smart Communities Pledge.
Right?
Yes, and so basically that program, it's the actual certification is probably not achievable by the town within the time frame now to get access to the NYSERDA grant, but it is a worthwhile program to pursue, and there's currently funding opportunities associated with it that I can touch on. But basically, the first step is for a community to pass a resolution. Basically, the DEC provides a model resolution stating that climate change is indeed, you know, a pressing issue, and that the town commits to, you know, a process of evolving action involving mitigation and adaptation actions. And so the supervisor shared with me the template
Well,
resolution.
we wrote a new one. We didn't
Yes.
accept the model resolution, and we felt like we wanted to put some facts and some background in it, so we kind of
Yes.
added ours. Ours is a little bit different.
So I
But the
would-
10 steps are in there.
I was very impressed with your resolution because the amount of detail that's included in the one that the town is considering adopting is really, I think it's really impressive, actually. So I appreciate that you went through the trouble to do that, and I do
Thank
hope
you.
that the town does, you know, indeed adopt the pledge. If the town passes the pledge tonight, they will become a registered climate smart community. 4 communities in Dutchess County alone, including Dutchess County, passed the pledge last month. So there's a movement going on right now. There's a lot of momentum. And it's really interesting because Ulster County, the Climate Smart Committee, it's a county climate smart committee, has taken on a goal of having every community in Ulster County pass this pledge and start working on the Climate Smart Community certification, you know, by completing various actions. And they have 12 communities right now, including the county. And then all of a sudden, in Dutchess, we have, the town of Poughkeepsie passed the pledge last month, which is a significant population center as well. So,
Wow. So how many are we up to in Dutchess County?
So
would that be
if the
4?
town here passes it, it'll be 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Out of
so
20? And then 2 city, well, 22 or something?
Yeah,
That's good.
exactly. 20, isn't it 28 in Dutchess County? I'm including villages and towns.
Oh,
Yeah, I
And
think it is
cities.
28 if you
yeah,
count
yeah,
villages.
you're right,
Yeah.
you count villages, you're
Exactly.
absolutely right, okay.
And then hopefully my own city of Poughkeepsie will be considering it soon too, so.
That's great.
So anyway, I'm very impressed with your customized version. Again, the actual certification is a long-term process, and it's something you can kind of chip away at. All of these clean energy communities actions count towards the Climate Smart Communities program, and that's something we'll go into later. So this is really just the first step. And then I'll just briefly touch on the fourth action that's possible for the town in case you hear about it. It's called community choice aggregation. Basically, it's an energy procurement model where your local government becomes the default energy provider rather than a utility. So you know how if you don't do anything, Central Hudson supplies your electricity. In this model, you basically hire an administrator, and they purchase blocks of electricity on behalf of your residents. Beacon, Fishkill, the village of Cold Spring, and the town of Phillipstown have aggregated and are moving forward with that. And also Mayor Matt Alexander in the village of Wappingers Falls has his own model. So I'm just sharing that information. Again, that's sort of a much
We'll
broader,
take a look.
bigger program, and it's not going to happen overnight, but it is a really good way for a community to negotiate lower electricity prices and also buy green electricity right there. You can, vastly decrease your greenhouse gas
And
emissions.
it can be an association of towns that does it, correct?
Yes, it
Like
can.
Unionville could do it with the town of Washington, the town of
And the
Pleasant
more
Valley,
towns that
the town
aggregate,
of LaGrange.
The better results.
I think they have to be in the same utility company.
You got it, exactly. That's exactly
But,
correct.
They don't even have to be one right next to the other, because if Clinton wanted to sign on, or
Because
Stanfordville.
they're basically buying megawatt blocks of electricity on behalf
Right.
of the residents. And so, like I said, there's that aggregation going on with those 4 communities in Dutchess and Putnam counties right now. And then
Right.
there's some other, they're using it's called Renewable Highlands. They're using a firm called Jewel Assets. But there's other models around the state as well. So,
Right.
so it's kind of new. It was only enabled in 2016 statewide. Westchester Power has, I believe it's 20 communities are part of a CCA, it's called, in Westchester County, and they've been paying something like 5 to 8% less for their electricity, and many of them have chosen to do the opt-out version, the opt-out option of electricity is green electricity. So it's a really interesting model. Like I said,
So
it's
Europa, what happens what do you give us if we put solar panels on our landfill?
Well, so the solar panels on the landfill.
How much is that worth in a grant?
That could count towards the clean energy upgrades because basically if you were offsetting your municipal electricity usage by
That's what we're hoping.
renewables, then yeah, you could offset your electricity by 100% potentially.
We're studying this, it's interesting, the timing is great because we did all that, remember when Central Hudson came in and
Yep.
brought us all of our bills?
Yeah.
And we studied our bills and we were a little surprised and taken aback about the amount we were paying and we had a gentleman in, we've reported on this at a different meeting, but we had a gentleman come in and talk about the solar panels, and so now we're going to run the numbers and look at the various scenarios, and we can include the aggregation project in there as we run those numbers. Central Hudson assured us that this would not bring us cheaper pricing. So, but, it was Central Hudson, so we thought, we nodded our heads and said, okay, thank you.
Well, I think what they were saying, what they were.
Buying it from somebody else.
Buying
Yeah.
it from somebody else
Yeah.
does not give
But not
us
the
a-
aggregation.
But the aggregation is another story.
But we
Yeah.
will look at this and those numbers along with the analysis that we're doing for the solar panels in a couple of different
That's great.
iterations, and then we'll let you know.
Wonderful. And then I just wanted to mention, it's not one of the actions under the Clean Energy Communities program, but because you're considering the solar farm at the landfill, and potentially that may spark interest from solar developers, is the model, there's a model solar energy law. A lot of communities around the state are adopting this. This is through a NYSERDA-funded program called New York Sun. So there's a webinar. I brought the template model law. It can be customized. It includes
Oh, that's good.
decommissioning plans, where you stipulate which zoning districts large-scale solar is allowed in, and it breaks it down into the big and the little rooftop. versus solar fields. So there's a lot of options for communities to customize it for their own needs and not have to, spend months and years
Great.
generating it from scratch.
That's very helpful.
And so I
Okay.
will, like I said, I will follow up with an email with all of these resources.
Okay.
There are also Climate Smart Communities grants open now, so they require a 50% match, but I will also leave that information with you in case the town is interested. Things like replacing right-sizing culverts and flow barriers are covered. And I was just looking at the grant, and the 50% match can be donated goods or in-kind services. So hypothetically, something like
That's interesting,
a
yeah.
$50,000 culvert you have, you can use as a match for $50,000 worth of work.
That's what
you
we're
want to
getting
get
ready to
done.
do.
Of course, there's the reporting requirements, not insignificant, but I'm just putting that idea
Okay.
out there. So, yeah, so
Terrific.
I have tons of information. I'll just leave you with a pile of paperwork.
Wonderful, thank you.
yeah, so
We
thank
really
you so much.
appreciate it, thank you for coming. You're always
great
full
to
of
be
good
here.
information.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yes,
Thanks
I'm
a
now
lot.
your new council person. Should I just head out, or are you doing the?
You're totally, would you like us to do the resolution now?
Well,
can do it
you
right
don't-
now.
you don't
Can we
need
do it
to.
now? Okay.
Why delay you any further?
No, let's
All right.
find, it's in the
Yeah.
bottom here, hold on.
I got my copy.
So this is kind of long, so I just thought maybe the three of us could just read it a paragraph at a time, so it'll, not that we're trying to speed it up, but, Dave, why don't you start, and then we'll just keep going around.
I gotta find
Resolution 18, what'd you tell me it was?
You want to borrow my copy? You got it right there in your hand.
Okay, yeah.
You start, Dave, and then we'll rotate.
All right, Resolution 18, agreeing to adapt to a changing climate. Whereas the town board of the town of Unionville acknowledges that there is a high probability that human activities over the past 50 years have warmed our planet. The industrial activities that our modern civilization depends upon have caused much of the observed increase in the Earth's temperatures over the past 50 years.
John? Oh.
Okay.
Whereas Earth orbiting satellites
No,
flown...
you skipped number 2, go to number 2.
Oh. Whereas
Most climate.
most climate scientists agree that the main cause of the current global warming trend is human expansion of the greenhouse effect, warming that results when the atmosphere traps heat radiating from Earth towards space. Certain gases in the atmosphere block heat from escaping, re-emitting them in all directions, warming the surface of the Earth and the lower temperature. Long-lived gases that remain semi-permanently in the atmosphere and do not respond physically or chemically to changes in the temperatures are described as forcing climate change.
Whereas Earth orbiting satellites flown by NASA, National Aeronautics and Space Administration, have enabled scientists to collect data on a global scale that demonstrates the heat-trapping nature of carbon dioxide and other gases. Gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect include water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and chlorofluorocarbons, now largely regulated.
Whereas the planet's average surface temperatures has risen about 2 degrees Fahrenheit since the late 19th century, a change driven largely by increased carbon dioxide and other human-made emissions into the atmosphere at the end of the last ice age, when the national northeast United States was covered with more than 3,000 feet of ice, average temperatures were only 5 to 9 degrees cooler than today. We recognize that the small change in temperature corresponds to the enormous changes in the environment.
Whereas additional examples of negative effects of temperature changes are shrinking ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica, retreating glaciers around the world, including the Alps, Himalayas, Andes, Rockies, Alaska, and Africa. Arctic sea ice is expected to become essentially ice-free in the summer before mid-century. Global sea levels expected to rise from 1 to 4 feet by the year 2100. Ocean acidification increases as the acidity of surface ocean waters has continued to absorb carbon dioxide by about 2 billion tons per year.
Whereas the U.S. Global Research Program released information showing visible effects from climate change regionally. In the Northeast, heat waves, heavy downpours, intense hurricanes, and sea levels rising pose growing challenges to many aspects of life. Our infrastructure, agriculture, fisheries, and ecosystems will be increasingly compromised.
Whereas we believe that our response to climate change provides us with an unprecedented opportunity to build livable, energy-independent, and secure communities, resilient infrastructures, vibrant farming economies, and enhanced appreciation of our responsibility to surrounding nature and ecosystems in order to maintain and preserve our quality of life.
Whereas we believe the scale of greenhouse gases, CHG emissions reductions required for climate stabilization will require sustained and substantial efforts, and to be good stewards of our environment, be good neighbors to each other, and to preserve and protect our natural assets.
It is hereby resolved that the town of Unionville, in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and adapt to a changing climate, adopts the New York State Climate Smart Communities Pledge, which comprises the following 10 elements: build a climate-smart community, inventory emissions, set goals, a plan for climate action, decrease energy use, shift to clean, renewable energy, use climate-smart materials management, implement climate-smart land use, enhance community resilience to climate change, support a green innovation economy, inform and inspire the public, and engage in an evolving process of climate action. I think we can pledge to do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion, we make the pledge.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Could I make one suggestion that we send a copy of this to our planning board so that they can implement climate smart land use in their decision making?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We'll do that.
That's great. Congratulations.
Europa, thank you for coming. It was great to see you again.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
Yeah, very
it.
helpful.
See everyone, yes. I'm leaving this pile of documents here. I will email them tomorrow along with instructions on how to
Great.
submit that to the DEC and become a registered climate smart community.
We will.
Thank you.
We appreciate your help.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Europa.
Nice to see you again. Take care.
I'll be talking to you, I'm sure.
Yes.
Okay. Let me just reorganize all the paper. Excuse me one second. Next up on the agenda, Town Supervisor's Report. I will go speak pretty quickly. From a financial report perspective, I wanted to point out a few things to you. We did collect $161,000 in property tax, $161,949. We collected $53,000 in sales taxes from the county. We also received $6,819 in penalties from people that paid their taxes late. You know, that's one advantage to actually collecting taxes here. There is a 2% penalty if people miss that deadline, and we did collect thus far $6,800. I also wanted to make sure that everybody saw some really interesting news. The Recreation Department continues to do a fabulous job in driving their sales because people like our camps and like coming. We had a $64,000 income month from Recreation. What other things that I wanted to mention to you? I forgot the disaster relief. There's a line here on disaster assistance. We did receive the check. I may have mentioned it at the last meeting, and it just happened, $35,000 from FEMA. $35,396. Now that is an accrual basis. We operate on an accrual basis, so it went in the 2017 year, but the cash is in the bank for us to use this year. We also had, I think that was about, I wanted to let you know that we paid out $1.5 million to the county at the first of the month for their percentage of our taxes, and more will be paid up when we are finished. And lastly, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that people are working hard. Our total expenses this month, people are operating so far. Now, I know we have a big summer coming, but I just want to say every month it's looked good. And this year, all of our department heads are managing their expenses, and we are at about 40% of the budgeted amount. Now, I'm not sure if the budget was accurate. You know, we're going to be tweaking that in a few months. But to operate at only 40% of what the budget permitted each department head is terrific. They are watching what they spend. And our net income for the month of April, we were at 172% of budgeted income. So we brought in more money than expected, and we spent less. They're doing the right thing, and we really appreciate that. Okay, that was the financial report. Some updates for you. We're continuing to work on the policy manuals. As we mentioned, the procurement policy, these things will continue to get refined as we do them. Next In our next work session, we're going to start on the employee manual and updating it, and that's going to take probably a few months, because there's a lot that has to be done there. So that program, as you guys know, is probably going to take the rest of the year. We'll get them all done. We have completed the cash audits. We have submitted the annual update document, which was just finished. That is that annual report that we have to give to the State Comptroller's Office. Our account, we got that finished, and that was submitted. That will be online soon from the State Comptroller's. And we'll have it soon available if anybody wants to read it. It's available every year. We implemented paychecks. We mentioned to you that we have been a little unhappy with some of the payroll problems that we have had, some of which are beyond our control, some of which, may be within our control. We've tightened things up, but sometimes we still see slippages in the system, and there was a mistake on the W-2s, so we're getting ready to reissue a correction. Very small, but it's important to do. So we decided and made a decision to hire Paychecks, a professional payroll provider, who will be responsible, will correct mistakes, and it'll all be on them, and they're giving us a lot of everything will be online, and it is just a terrific way for us to manage payroll, and I'm very glad that we have somebody who, when a law changes, they send us the law right away. We don't have to find out about it a year later. So we're very pleased with that. That will also help us control costs because of the way people have to punch in and punch out. Last month we had I'm sorry if I'm talking fast, but I figure we want to rush. We had a deferred compensation plan meeting here for our employees, which, as you all know, is a voluntary retirement plan, and we had 8 people sign up. So it was the employees. So the gentleman that came from the state, he'll be coming back to visit us. He's going to conduct a mini investment class, but I think it's not until July. That was well received by employees. That's, obviously they're contributing on a pre-tax basis, so it's a real good thing. Tomorrow, we mentioned the town hall parking lot is going to get done, striping on Saturday. And one thing that's important, we were going to make a big fuss, but then 2 of our council members had to be out of town for various reasons, or in Karina's case, she's got a very important family function. But May 15th is Peace Officers Memorial Day, which was designated by JFK in 1962. And as you know, and they celebrate a week. As you know, we have wonderful constables that protect the assets of this town all the time. And we were going to make a big fuss out of them tonight and have George Treadwell come and give them a big thank you. But since 2 of our council members had to be out, we decided, come next month, and we're going to give George and all of our constables a big pat on the back and thank them for the hard work that they do for us. And that was it. Now I'm going to turn it over to the board member. You have any comments, Dave? Or Councilman McMorris, sorry.
Just that while we're recognizing the constables, which I really appreciate, we should also recognize our deputies and our state police who are
all of them,
here all the time. And I wanted to remind everybody that May 28th is Memorial Day. There will be services up on the green at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Great.
All come. That's all I got right now.
Okay. I just would mention that I've been working with our supervisor on grants, current grants, and future grants we're looking into. Also, I was invited by Vassar Brothers Medical Center last week to go to a breakfast meeting to get an update on basically a new hospital. They're spending $545 million on what is essentially a whole new Vassar hospital. They will keep what they have, but they're going to add a lot more capabilities, some very high-tech neonatal units, do more with heart care. They're going to do more with a lot of areas of health care, some very high technical things that I didn't fully understand that they're really getting into. And they said this was the biggest construction project ever in the city of Poughkeepsie, $545 million. They're putting in a new emergency room. They're putting in, I forget the number, but significant amount of new hospital rooms. Wow. So it's going to be a very positive things for the county. And
when are they breaking ground? Are they doing that soon? Starting?
Oh, it's
they've been
more
working
than halfway
on it?
done. It's
Is
gonna
it?
Be,
I never see it when I go.
It's going to be open late next year.
Wow.
Probably. That's the goal. I mean, the steelwork is towering over Route 9. If you go down Route 9, it's very tall buildings, and it's quite a substantial investment, and it's going to be a very positive thing for the whole county.
Great. That's good. Did you have anything else, John?
That's it.
I forgot something, and I'm sorry about this. Millbrook High School girls softball team won state, went all the way to state and won. And I forgot to mention this because I wanted to get the girls' names, which they're not giving me until tomorrow, but there are quite a few Unionvale ladies that are on that team and that have gone to state, and there is going to be a parade on Franklin Street in Millbrook on Saturday, and Gary, the supervisor, Gary Safari, and they called me and asked me to come to represent the Unionvale ladies. Gary Safari, of course, the supervisor of Washington, will be representing the Millbrook contingent, and we're going to be in a parade or standing there when the parade comes. I'm not sure what the setup is yet, but there's a big thank you and a big small town congratulations to a team that went all the way to state. So if you're not doing anything on Saturday, come on over to Millbrook and pat those girls on the back. It's just going from the bank on Franklin Street up to the band shell, and then they'll be big, get their congratulations from I think Gary from Supervisor Safari. So anyway, congratulations to the Millbrook ladies, the high school there. They did a great job.
What time is that?
That is going to be, thank you, 3 p.m.
3 p.m. Saturday.
3 p.m. sharp. It's not a long street, so come on, please come. All right, and the last thing I should have mentioned, I apologize, is you all may have gotten word or seen on the news that our legislator, Mark Coviello, is moving over to a county job, and the process for appointing somebody that is has moved on is that the town boards for the towns that person covered have to interview and appoint the person jointly. We are interviewing candidates on Tuesday, May 22nd in the town of Unionvale. And then in Beekman, they are interviewing. We're doing it separately only because the supervisor was on vacation and we wanted to get moving. So on May 22nd, we are going to have an interview. It's not an open meeting. We are having a private interview with the candidates that we have thus far. And if somebody shows up on Monday, they can be included in the schedule. The town of Beekman will be interviewing these same people, looking at the same resumes that we'll be looking at on the 24th. And then on the 29th, we go to Beekman because proportionately they have more people than we do, so the rules call for us to go there. And on the 29th, there will be a joint session. Town board members can recommend or make a motion that somebody's name get thrown in. If it's seconded, then the town will vote on them. The two towns boards will vote. And we keep voting until a person is appointed. So that appointment will take place on the 29th and the term, all the way through the next term. Just to update you, so right now, that's in the works and we're collecting resumes. If you know anybody that you think would be incredibly, that would be helpful for the town of Unionvale, we have a small group there, let us know, okay? And that was it. I apologize, I didn't mention that before. And now I would like to turn it over to our town clerk.
So we're shredding day, still upcoming on May 23rd, which is a Wednesday. It looks like to begin around 10 o'clock, possibly 11. So come early, and you can always leave your stuff behind if you don't want to wait for the truck. It takes a matter of seconds. You put it in this big container, much like a garbage can, and they shred it on site immediately. So all of your confidential documents will be taken care of, and the service is free, so we hope you guys take advantage. Secondly, our tax collector, Joe Miller, has reported that 92% of the collection has been received, with 8% uncollected. And the late notices for the second request were mailed out on May 2nd for unpaid taxes.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask, grievance day.
Oh, grievance day is also scheduled for May 23rd. So big day that Wednesday, and it's from 4 to 8 p.m. You're going to speak to either Michelle or Robert to get whatever paperwork you need to have processed ahead of time, and then you can come anytime during that 4-hour period. Right, it's 4 hours. And,
I think it's 4 hours, yeah.
And speak to the Board of Assessment Review about your grievance.
So in that night, we're going to have the grievance night, and we will have training and orientation meeting for the Recreation Department's new employees for the summer. And so we're going to have the grievance in the actual courtroom, but we don't want anybody to take offense to that. They're going to have to walk through that metal detector.
It's just a space thing.
It's just a space thing, but I think it'd be best used, and then we'll use this room for the orientation because there's 54.
Yeah, there's
many more people, at least 50
we'll
people
fit them in
coming.
the court.
I think there's 5 people signed up so far for grievance.
Yeah, much smaller.
Yeah, so it'll be a different room when you come in. Anything else?
I think that's it.
That's it? Okay, thank you, Town Clerk. Casey? Public comments on agenda items? Mr. McCabe?
Hi, Bill McCabe from Darren Road. I wanted to address the second, section 10, old business, the second 10.1. I was at the workshop meeting where you discussed the sign law, which is really good to make distinctions between different areas and two commercial areas versus residential areas, which makes a lot of sense. And there are two questions I have. One has to do with in neighborhood, not neighborhood commercial, but I know in neighborhood commercial we're talking about not having pulsating lights and things that are flashing and things that are visually disturbing. Is there any intent on the part of the board to also address pulsating, flashing lights like in Christmas lights in residential neighborhoods, which has been a problem in the past, which you might want to also consider in terms of what you were addressing with the commercial part?
Yeah.
So please think about that.
Okay.
The second thing is with sign law for years, going back 10 or 15 years, as you know, the regular sign law of the town has inconsistencies and things which are not really enforceable sometimes, especially with dealing with political signs and the confusion of that. So I just want to remind the board of its commitment, as well as previous board and previous boards before that, to think about how to deal with that part of town law.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments on agenda items? No? Okay. Thank you for that. And now we will have our committee report. First up, Mr. Ed Cash, who is chairman of our Community Day Committee. Yeah, it's more comfortable.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank you again for having me back. Just wanted to remind everyone that our Community Day is coming up on Saturday, June 2nd from 12 to 6. I am thrilled to be a part of this. The amount of commitment I've seen from a lot of local people and businesses has been overwhelming. We're a committee of volunteers, and we're here every week working to put together the best family-oriented day that we can. We have a number of activities, from Family Olympics to a pie eating contest to a scavenger hunt to everything Betty Albrecht has put together up at the Equestrian Center. And we've really packed it full of interesting, engrossing things for children and their families to participate in. And it's all done by volunteers and by sponsors and by donations. We have wonderful signage that is going up that is graciously being created by Embroidery Designs. Advertising banner, sponsorship banner, t-shirts for everyone who's working the event. And it's really nice that we have one overwhelming sort of point that we're getting at, which is our Rediscover Unionville. We're really trying to get community members back involved with the community. And we found the best way to do that was to sort of take things back to an older, simpler time where everyone was there together and working together and enjoying these events together. And I think it's going to be a blast. I don't know if anyone's seen the flyers. We have them up. The schools have gotten them. They're up at local businesses.
There's some at the back table.
There's some in the back table. And so that's Saturday, June 2nd. And one thing we're looking for from that is anyone here, if you know of anyone who would be interested in volunteering for that day, everything is volunteer-based. So anyone you could think of that could donate even an hour of their time, that would be most welcome, and they can reach out to Andrea with that information.
She's keeping a list.
And so we're really looking forward to it. We hope everyone can attend. And then, as a secondary reminder, Friday, June 22nd, which is a few weeks past that, is our community night, which is a tailgate and fireworks show, which will take place right outside the town hall here. And that's also on the flyers, but we'll be sending more information out about that.
We're going to send more out. And I also want to thank Jessica Dickinson, who's sitting right back there. She did those flyers, and I think they are some of the prettiest flyers I have ever seen between the what's going on in the Equestrian Center and for our Community Day, Community Night. She helped us do that. Thank you, Jess. They're beautiful. They should win an award.
They absolutely should.
Speaking of awards, Speaking of awards, I have Mr. Dennis Dunning, who is, and his wife Vicki have been kind enough to donate the banners you were talking about. We're operating, I think you're being very polite, we do want to take this back to an old time. It's actually been a lot of fun planning it because your leadership has been fabulous.
Thank you.
But we also have a very tiny budget. And because we have a very tiny budget, it helps us, go back to the old times. So, we don't have a lot of money for prizes, and we have a lot of teams that are going to be vying competitively. And so we came up with the team that wins gets a summer hat. What do you think?
Very nice.
Do you like it? Is this going to be motivating? Your team's going to want to win that egg what is that? The egg roll?
Well, the Family Olympics has a number of different events involved. All of it. And the font for our slogan for Unionville is, thanks, courtesy to Jessica, which is being used on the banners.
We loved it so much, we're using it on everything. So I hope you like it. This will be, get your family to participate, and if you win, you're going to get one. And there's sports skills, there's Family Olympics, there's a pie eating contest. Many opportunities here to get a hat.
Yes, and we have all the local governmental bodies are all participating. The fire company will be there. We're going to have an ambulance, fire truck, the smokehouse. Up at the equestrian center, we're going to have
A horse pole.
Horse poles. We're also going to have pony rides and painting ponies and goats. We're also going to have the mini horse rides. There's going to be a lot going on. It's been a very fun but very challenging thing to plan. So we really hope everyone can come if they're free. And please tell everyone you know. It's a small town, so we need to get word out the best way we can. And I thank everyone for all their time and energy they put into it, especially Betsy and Andrea, who are there at every committee meeting we have, and much appreciated.
No,
so
thank
you very much.
And you've gotten a good team. People are very motivated. Oh, and a scavenger hunt.
And the big
that's hard
scavenger
work.
hunt that Holly's putting together.
Yeah, so I think it'll be fun, and we'll ask people to critique it afterwards, and if it's a flop, then we'll switch it for next year.
Oh, don't talk that way.
But no, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Positive.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, but you know what? Anybody that has a suggestion, we'll just take it, we'll use it, right?
Oh, and one last note, the pool is opening that day.
That's right.
For the rec department. The pool is opening, and I believe it's free for everyone
It's
on
free,
that day.
and it's a
there'll be
grand
sign-up
opening.
table for everyone to sign up for passes. So very exciting, looking forward to it. Hope to see everyone there on that day. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Okay. No,
Thanks for
okay,
everything.
Thank you guys for
Thank
everything
you.
you do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cash. Next up, our departmental reports. Park Department, come on up. Jake Gosnell, our park manager.
Hey guys,
Hey, doing, Jake?
Hello.
it's been raining a lot,
I don't doubt it.
so we're trying to kind of keep ahead of the grass. I am pretty excited that we've had a lot of baseball out on the little field this year, which has been really nice at the bottom of the hill. We've had a lot of soccer, which is great. We've got the 3 fields going. And trying to get ready for Community Day, which has been awesome. And we're also putting a new flagpole in on the green for Memorial Day.
Good.
So that will be great. There'll be a new one up there by next weekend.
Wonderful.
Yeah, just lots of...
You guys have been working hard. We see you
Lots of
out
contending
there.
with the weather. It has not been working with us, but we're getting there.
You're getting there, and
So-
it looks good.
Yeah, things are good.
How's the new mower?
We don't have it yet.
Not yet?
Next week.
Okay.
That's the latest word, so,
Don't
Yeah.
forget to let me know when that arrives, would you?
yep. So hopefully next week.
Great.
That was the last word, so
All right, good.
we'll see.
Thank you, Jake.
Thanks, guys.
very much for coming.
Yep.
Okay, our next departmental report, the recycling center. Tom St. Ange is picking up his daughter from college, so he asked me to tell you, and I left the numbers in it was like 2.5 tons of garbage that was picked up on Earth Day, and he said it was an absolute record. So they did such a good job with the highway department and the orange bags and the parks department picking everything up. He was very excited, and
must say, it looks
Tom, he
better.
doesn't get excited that easily.
Yeah,
but-
the roads look a lot better than they did.
Yes, the roads look much better, and but he decided, and he put a sign up, and we all agreed that it should continue. And all the residents should know that the orange bags that were used for Earth Day are available at the highway department, with at the front desk of Town Hall, and also the Park Department may have them, but you don't see as many, well, you might see some people. Do you have some down there?
We have some down there.
Okay. Highway Department easily, and the Town Hall, continue to send residents in to collect, use the orange bags, put them out in front. They don't have to lift anything other than putting it there, and the Highway Department will come by and get them. Okay? So he had a real bang-up day. He was very excited about that. And the only other thing, that's it. That was the Recycling Center report. Next up, Recreation Department, Jessica Dickinson. That is you.
Reports follow along, please.
I'm going to get a couple extras for the two that are missing.
I have some extra copies too, so you can take whatever's there and give it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
Here you go. So these are the others.
Okay, I'll just follow my outline here to keep it short and sweet. There's tons of stuff happening in June, as you can see in front of you. We've got Community Day that Ed already beautifully touched on. Our pool is opening that day, so we're very excited to get those lifeguards working and having the pool open. There's an Equestrian Center horse show at 9 a.m. on June 10th. We've got homeschoolers taking over Time Warp Park on June 13th, which is one of the events we're looking for a couple volunteers. I know it is a work day, but there's also some people that would like to help out. Send them my way. We've got outdoor movie nights coming up, TGTT camp days.
TGTT means?
Means when school is out, we get to keep playing because summer camp hasn't yet begun. So those extra camp days, we sprinkle in there to keep parents that are working very happy.
Good for them.
Yeah, so those are always a hit, so please pre-register for that. The website is on this report, but it's also unionvalerec.com. If you haven't visited, please do so. Community night will come up at the end of June 22nd. It's a Friday night where Ed already mentioned we're going to tailgate and party. We'll have some food trucks up here and some special time before the fireworks begin at 9. And then June 25th, that is the big day, where all camps, sports begin, and the pool will open full-time, which means 7 days a week. There are some volunteer opportunities like Community Day that was touched on, the Homeschoolers Day again, and T-Ball. We have quite a few volunteers already, but we want to spread the words for parents and kids to get involved, sign up for that, and all parents can surely help out and be a coach right alongside all of us. Some of the other updates I wanted to touch on are our attendance. It is speedily growing, and for sessions 1 through 4 of camp, I wrote down how many children we have registered for each of those. There are over 100 in each session, so we are rocking and rolling.
Great.
Kids like it, right?
Yeah, kids definitely like camp. And then a couple things I will touch on. One important date is June 8th. We have a very firm registration deadline for T-ball, swim team, and the adult volleyball league. So check out our Facebook page. All the time we are putting out information on Unionville Parks and Recreation, which the town happily shares, and we'll just make sure to get you all signed up for that so no one misses out. And then a couple events that we have already had in the past. I just wanted to mention briefly, like we had at the end of April, the Miles of Hope race, which was the 5K. We had over 160 runners attend that. It was to support the Miles of Hope Breast Cancer Foundation. Very successful. Our Youth Fishing Derby was a hit as well, with 68 kids registered for that. Then the Full Moon Hike, I wrote down we had 12 hikers and 1 runner. It's a great family event. And everything worked out really well that night. And then Love Your Park Day.
Godfrey Park, that's nice. That was your first annual, right?
That was, I mean, we've had a Love Your Park Day last year, but...
Not a Godfrey, is that what?
We installed the new fence on that day.
Oh, okay, okay.
So we had 20 participants. I met some really nice neighbors. We even created a new little rock garden, so everything was a really positive turnout, and it was really nice to see everyone. Yeah, even Miss Casey played a game of kickball with us too, so a really good day all around.
That's great.
Yeah, so thank you for having me.
So I would just want to remind everybody that at the beginning of this year, we adjusted the budget of the Recreation Department, and so that they will be in the black this year, and they're doing a fabulous job, not only managing the expenses, but you're getting, it seems to me like The numbers are going up. I don't know if they're much greater than before, but I think you had more fishing derby attendees because, and it was raining, and I was shocked, but you're doing a very good job bringing people in, and you're doing a great job managing your budget, and thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks to everyone that shows up to our events, and we hope to continue that trend.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Jessica.
good night.
Okay, now we switch gears to old business. As Mr. McCabe mentioned in section 10.1, digital signage for the town center and neighborhood commercial districts, let me just give you an update there. The town board is working on making some changes to the sign law because we have a gas station in the neighborhood commercial district that's being renovated, and and then we have a town center area. They require different nuances, and we want to be very sensitive to what they want. So we did spend a long time working on this. And the next step is, we did go and meet with the county and shared with them our thoughts, and they are responding to us and giving us their thoughts. Then we'll meet with, we don't have to meet with, but we will submit everything to the planning board and let the planning board kick it around and get their input. And after we've gotten all of that input, we will come back here and we will have an introduction, an introduction to change the local law based on all of that input, including the county. And then that will trigger a public hearing. So you'll see this on the agenda as it progresses. First, it's going to take another month or so, at least a month and a half, 2 months, maybe probably 2 more meetings because we need the planning board to weigh in. So you'll see this on the agenda, but it's just working its way through the system. We're tweaking it, we're getting some input, and then we will bring it in front of you and introduce a change in the local law, and we'll have a public hearing and we'll get your input before anything is voted on. So we're still working on it. It's not gone anywhere, but it's complicated, and there's some things we need to double and triple check before we bring it to you, so that we're coming, okay? What else was on old business? Oh, John, do you want to tell everybody about number 10.2 and
The handicap
the
access?
photos up there,
Yeah.
if anybody wants to see it?
We were awarded a grant from the county. Last year was approved for $85,000 to increase handicap accessibility to Time Warner Park, which can be interpreted as what our plan was to add more handicap parking spaces. Initially, the plan was to put them across Time Warner Park Road in the beginning of the parking lot. After much thought by many people involved, it was decided that was not the best way to do it because people that are handicapped want to not have to cross a road, especially if they're in a wheelchair. So we rethought it, and we've come up with an alternate idea, and that is to place more handicap on the side of the road where the facilities are, on the south side of Time Warner Park Road. The most notable change will be where the silos used to be, the tile silos that were taken down about 3 years ago. There's a large grassy area there. Some of that's going to be used to add a couple of parking handicap spaces right there, which are very adjacent to the entrance to the senior center. Also, in the front of the barn complex, we're going to have a drop-off area, and that will make it easier for anybody who's either getting dropped off or picked up for any reason, whether handicapped or walk fine, to have access to vehicles there if somebody's picking them up or dropping them off. And then the cars can be parked in the parking lot. We're going to organize the parking lot and have an entrance and exit all very clearly defined instead of the way it is now where it's just wide open. So it's going to be an improvement all around, and we're getting this money, for a lot of it from the county, which gets it really from the federal government. So it's going to be a very good use of the money we're getting in the grant. Anything else?
Which reminds me, actually, we have a proposal from our engineer, Morris Associates, Tom Harvey and Pete Cetera. We have that proposal, and we need to vote on that tonight. They're our chosen engineers, and their role in the project is to come over, they will survey it, they will do all the specs, they'll design it to the county's requirements. Then they help us with all the bidding services, they oversee the construction administrative aspects, and they work closely with our park manager, Jake Gosnell. And then they help us get approval on everything from Dutchess County, so they have a very big role for us.
Yeah, they're like the focal point because they have to make sure we're doing what the county wants and that what we want, and that proper paperwork and proper work is being done, and then everything is filed properly with the county to get the money for the construction and for their efforts. Their total estimate will be, for engineering and survey, will be $12,000.
It's 12,000, and I will add that I thought it was going to be 15, frankly, from what I'd heard. And so I was pleased to see the 12, number one. And number two, we have in the budget $20,000 for this project to cover this. And we get, obviously, we get the county's money back, but they only allocated $4,000 to engineering, so we're going to have to tweak a little. Maybe the bids will work out so we don't end up using as much of our money, but we certainly have the 20 in the budget to cover this. Okay. John, would you like to?
All right, I'd like to make a motion then that we award the contract to Morris Associates to oversee this project with the survey and engineering activities
I'll
for a
second
total
that.
of $12,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Morris Associates will take this project up immediately.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. As far as new business, animal control and the Dutchess County SPCA, this is an ongoing discussion. I'm going to ask our animal control warden to come and visit us next month and talk about what we're going to do here. The Dutchess County SPCA got their second lousy report, frankly, from Ag and Markets, which is the group that inspects them. And then after they make an inspection, they mail it to all the town supervisors. And basically what it said was that their conditions are subpar when our dogs get taken over there. They have two buildings. One of them is brand new, and it must have cost $6 million to renovate or to build. And they've got all the dogs that they collect from Unionville and all these that our animal control person takes there. They're in this really terrible building that got written up for many, many problems. And so Mary Jean Calvi and I were talking about what might be a solution. One of the other problems for Mary Jean Calvi, our dog warden, is that this facility is near Red Hook, and it's over 60 minutes for her to do a round trip to drop a dog off. And then invariably, she drops it off. It's Friday night. She had to do one. She didn't get home till after midnight. The family calls her the minute she gets home. Oh my gosh, do you have my dog? And she just spent an hour driving them to Red because she hadn't heard from anybody and back. One of the solutions that we want everybody to think about, the town board's going to talk about, Mary Jean Calvi's going to come to us with some suggestions, is that we build some dog runs locally. They're not expensive. It's something we could wait, put it in the budget and do it next year. We'll see how our budget plays out. But we could build several dog runs. Mary Jean Calvi uses her own barn in the winter because she has heat in there when she doesn't want to drive the 60 minutes because families leave messages and say that I'll be there as soon as I get off of work. So she keeps them in her garage. But I think for everybody to consider, a local solution to keep her from having to drive an hour is a good one if we can build the proper facility with shade from the sun and keep it warm and all that. Again, it would be temporary, and if she thought it was going to be longer than the folks getting home from work, she said she might have to take them to Red Hook.
Yeah.
But for right now, the reports 2 in a row that are bad, and all the other town supervisors are grappling with how to handle it as well. So it's a discussion that we'll have again.
It's a problem in almost every town.
Yeah, and but we have she's terrific. I mean, you know, she has towns, Dutchess County sheriff officers calling her, begging her to please come because they have a problem in Dover and they can't get their person on the phone, or in Beekman, those two towns a lot. And I'm not picking on those towns; those are just two examples that she gave me. And she ends up succumbing because the sheriff is worried about a dog, and she's an animal lover. So, you know, I think having a local facility, or at least something short-term, might be something that we could consider if we can afford it. Okay, next up, we're going to ask Lizette Hitzman to come and talk about Burbank Gas and Provisions, the naming contest that was held for our new renovated gas station, one of the first updated businesses we've had in a very long time. Come sit down, or do you want to talk? You can stand, or I want you to.
You can sit.
Whatever's good for you.
Okay.
You're not unfamiliar with sitting at the table here.
Yeah, have a seat.
Thank you, Betsy, for asking me to do this. There wasn't the turnout that I expected. 3 people sent in names: Frank Ert, Karina Kelly and Sharon Slocum. And the names were going through, and what was chosen was one from Sharon Slocum by, it's Sprout Creek Station, because the station is right across the road from Sprout Creek. And it's a very local name, but local people know it, and they can't wait to get the gas tanks in. So I'd like to thank those who suggested names for the newly expected gas station and convenience store. And I think for having us choose a name, it makes the community, the whole community of Unionville, a part of the new business. And I'd like to thank Sharon and congratulate her for her name being chosen, one of the ones she suggested being chosen, as the most appropriate for the new business.
And there's that old train station is right there.
Yes.
Right in Burbank,
Yeah.
the old,
Yeah.
The other side of the stream.
yeah, right across the street. That's nice.
And-
Sprout Creek Station.
If you have one more minute to listen, when George was talking about the MS4, when we were first shoehorned on into it, neither of us agreed with the census. So, and then I found out that I can't ride and look at a map at the same time.
I hope not.
I got car sick. Very, very definitely. We went through the whole section that the census said was not rural, and it was. And I contacted the state, and of course, they didn't listen to me, you know. But
Yeah, that's, yeah.
those two little sections, one in LaGrange and one in Beekman, threw us into MS4, but I think all towns are getting pushed into MS4 work anyway because of the water situation.
I think the problem we have with it, and our engineer called to discuss it, was that we've spent over $50,000 of, just going through and doing these reports and doing things when taking care of the water is a fine thing to do, but I guess it was the being forced to pay and spend a lot of money
Yes,
that
the administration costs.
for the administration is very frustrating on a small town like us.
It puts more pressure on all highway departments because they don't keep track of every little thing that goes on, and
Yeah.
they have to now. They have to keep track.
Well, if we had that 50,000, just think, we'd have that many more new culverts, and we'd have that many, But I will tell you that somebody did call and say that they don't believe it's accurate, just like you're saying, Lizette, because they said that when you look at the map, the DEC assumed that there were over 2,000 houses. Now, we have a 4,800 population town, so to have 2,000 houses in those areas, so I don't know, we're making a bet on it, and we're going to go count those houses
They
and
can't
see.
read a map is the bottom line.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
that's
so
it.
That's
Yeah.
what George and I did. We actually counted each house, and there wasn't anywhere near what the census had. So, but they wouldn't.
And prior to that,
Maybe we
had
should
very
review
few
that
building
every
permits
year.
for new homes.
Right.
A
So-
handful at
There are-
best.
There were actually grants available for, I was talking to Jay
Grasso?
Grasso, and it's a project that they did right over in Bowling because of the same thing. They were
You
getting.
mean pushing back on MS4?
Yeah, well, not on MS4, but on, being populated, saying that they had populations that they didn't have.
I see, okay.
Right.
And,
Well, I think you can push back. Now, I did call them and said that, I was new and I needed to understand this because it looked unlikely, highly unlikely. And she said, well, I've never heard of anybody coming out of MS4. And I said, well, what if we can prove to you that we don't have those numbers? And she said, well, if you can show us documented census changes, like a certain X number of people have left your town and moved out, she goes, we'll have to evaluate them. So,
I don't think people left. I don't think people were here that they thought were here.
could be, but at least she opened the door for
Yeah.
accepting new numbers, should we have proof.
I mean, it's factual information.
Yeah.
If they looked at the facts in the map, they would see that we're still rural.
Right. So we'll take that up again, Lizette. Thank you very much. Next up, Hudson River Valley Greenway Grant. Then we can, I think we'll be wrapped up there. We have a $12,000 grant waiting for us, should we want to develop our town center. They have extended it again, And the idea is this: it takes a lot of work, but we're analyzing the numbers right now, solar panels on the landfill, and then we'll come back and have a discussion about that. Another area that we could start working on is a town center, which involves zoning and master plan discussions, but it is the type of thing that would be a wonderful thing for the town should at some point during the future we're able to set up some sort of a town center that had an ongoing tax or revenue stream instead of just selling it. And I've talked to lots of people now, and I saw 2 people today that were saying, don't just sell that property outright, especially, there's just too many things that you can do with it, and the county's willing to help. I got 2 other names of organizations that would help us. These are big projects. They take time. If we have an appetite for it, and I think from what I'm hearing from the town board, they do, and we could get the zoning board and the planning board involved, and we would need all hands on deck to take on this sort of thing. But there is a grant that might just push us in that direction, and maybe we could start analyzing whether it's feasible. So it is a discussion we're going to start, and you'll be hearing more about it as we go. Okay, resolutions and motions. Do you have the first? Resolution of local law number 3?
I have it.
Okay, do you mind reading that, John?
Okay, resolution of local law number 3 for 2018. A local law of the town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, to amend the town code by eliminating Chapter 64 entitled Procurement Policy. Whereas a local law was introduced entitled A Local Law of the Town of Unionville, Dutchess County, New York, to amend the town code by eliminating Chapter 24, Article
64.
Excuse me?
64.
Oh, 64. Thereby removing the procurement policy as town law to become town policy. Whereas a public hearing in relation to said local law was held on May 17, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. prevailing time, and whereas notice of said public hearing was given pursuant to the terms and provisions of the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York, and whereas said local law has been on the desks of the members of the town board of the town of Unionville for at least 7 days, exclusive of Sunday. Now therefore be it resolved that the following local law is hereby enacted. Town of Unionville, local law number 3 of the year 2018, section 1, chapter 24, procurement policies, articles 1 through 6. The procurement policy will move from being a local law to a policy of the town of Unionville, and a copy will be on file with the town clerk. Section 2. This local law shall take effect immediately upon the filing with the state's Secretary of State. Resolved that the town clerk shall file a certified original of the local law in the office of the town clerk, and that one certified copy in the office of Secretary of State, State of New York. We will need a roll call vote.
Yes, may we have a roll call vote, Andrew?
We need a second.
I'll second it.
Oh, did you make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt local law number
Councilman
3.
Morris, you seconded. Can we have a roll call vote?
Sure. Supervisor Moss?
Aye?
Councilman Welsh?
Aye.
Councilman McMorris?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We will now have local law number 3.
That was 3.
So now we will.
Oh,
Now,
I see.
because
Yeah.
the motion carried, that's
Oh,
what I
okay,
meant.
okay.
Okay, Councilman McMorris, will you read the resolution approving the procurement policy?
Okay. Now be it resolved that the town board of the town of Unionville does hereby approve the following document that has been created in accordance with section 104-B of the general municipal law of the state of New York. The procurement policy of the town of Unionville document will be reviewed annually and revised when necessary.
Can I have a motion?
Is this something that we were talking about this before when they had that, what is it, section
H.
H?
Yeah.
I mean, do we want to vote on this now, or do we want to vote on this when we make the adjustments to section H?
Well, it doesn't matter, because if we vote on it now, we'll have it, but we are going to talk about it in the work session. I wanted to share with everybody the 3 other comments that we got, and then we can also talk about those. So we can, I mean, this is, when it becomes a policy, we can vote on it every month if we have changes. It won't matter. I mean, we can postpone it, it's not going to matter. We won't, well, we just took it out of the town code, so I kind of want to have a policy.
Yeah, we need to have something.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second the motion.
Okay, can we have a roll call vote?
Sure. Supervisor Mott?
Aye.
Councilman Welsh?
Aye.
Councilman McMorris?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. We'll now remove the procurement policy. Well, this becomes a policy for 2018 and will be on discussion. We're going to go through all the points that came up.
Right, and modify it as
Yeah,
needed.
and we'll modify it, and if we discover other language that we don't like with any of these policies, we can bring them up at any meeting now and make changes. So, thanks for raising that point, Dave. Okay, we already passed a resolution for the Climate Smart Communities
Yes.
Pledge. Can I have a motion to approve the budget adjustments and to pay the bills?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is that an aye? Well, you seconded it, so you're an aye. Motion carries. We'll pay all the bills, we promise. Any public comments on town issues? We've covered a lot tonight? Okay. All right. The next meeting will be on June 21st. Don't forget Memorial Day Parade in Millbrook at 9:30 a.m. We have a Senior Citizen Day picnic at noon on the 30th. And then we have...
That's in Dover.
That's going to be in Dover, in Boyce Park in
Yes.
Wendell.
Mhm.
And I think we've already covered everything else on the calendar.
Yep, and work session on June 7th.
Yeah. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Great.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. 9, 10, 12. Okay.
That was nice having your local college.
It was nice, isn't it? A lot of information.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, she mentioned that model of solar law. You guys have a solar and energy system law.
Yes.
And it was updated in 2016, so I think if a municipality doesn't have one, it makes sense to try to use a model law that you
I wonder if we could gain points
actually-
by modifying ours to meet the model.
Right.